1587, August. It was the time when humans started colonizing different regions of the earth and settling down. The English government was looking for new areas to settle in, and that's when they discovered Roanoke Island, located right next to America. As soon as they saw the island, the English became very interested in it. Not only could they easily enter the sea through the island, but it could also remain hidden from the eyes of the Spanish army, who were England's enemies at the time. Around 115 English immigrants settled on Roanoke Island that day, and John White was later appointed governor of the new colony. His wife, children and grandchildren all lived on the island. In the first month of their arrival, they faced a few attacks. So, at the end of that year, White decided to go to England to collect a new load of supplies, including food, weapons, and more people. However, as soon as he arrived in England, a great naval war broke out between England and Spain. Elizabeth Queen used all available ships for the war, and naturally, John White used the ship he came from. The war continued, and days turned into months, and months turned into years. After 3 years, John White finally got a chance to return to the island. However, when he arrived, he could not believe what he saw. There were no people on the island. There was no evidence of the colony they had built earlier. The island was the same as it was before colonization, with the only sign left being CRO carved into a tree and Croatoan carved into another tree. This disappearance of the colony has remained to this day the greatest unsolved mystery in the history of England and America. Where did everyone in the colony go? How could this have happened without leaving any evidence of the colony? After the incident, John White decided to go to the island of Croatoan, which was located 50 miles away. However, he failed both times due to storms and rain, and his private boat did not have any sophisticated emergency escape systems. At last, when all the food and supplies he had ran out, he returned to England. John White died in 1593 without ever knowing what happened to his family and the remaining colonists. To this day, no one is sure about the lost colony at Roanoke. Despite the disappearance of 115 people, no sign of a mass grave or bodies has been found. Historians have written many theories about this lost colony over the past hundreds of years. Let's take a look at some of the theories below. Drought. In 1998, climatologist David Stahl and archaeologist Dennis Blanton conducted an investigation into the Roanoke area to find out the secret of the lost colony. They took samples of 800-year-old cypress trees from Roanoke Island, examined core tree rings, and reconstructed a picture of how rainfall and temperature varied from year to year. They concluded that the 3-year period from 1587 to 1589 was the worst drought in 800 years. It was at that exact time that the colony disappeared from Roanoke Island. They produced maps of the effects of this drought covering the entire southeastern United States, with the most extreme point being in the Roanoke region. The colonists may have found it difficult to cultivate the new land, and nearby tribes may have raided Roanoke Island for food and then moved on to another island or elsewhere. Unfortunately, this theory only answers the question of why the colonists disappeared, not where they went. Virginia Pass Map. This map was drawn in 1585 when John White first visited Roanoke Island. It has been kept in the British Museum in London since 1866. A 2011 study of the map by historians found that 2 areas of the map were patched. This patching was done at the time the map was made because the paper was of the same type. When looking at this map through a light box, you can see the symbol of a square with sharp corners below the patches. This is not a symbol that should be on maps like this. Many think that perhaps this represents some thought of his. This has led many historians to speculate that the Roanoke colonists may have moved to this new location. What will that symbol be? Why did John White try to hide it as soon as it was included in the map? Combination. This theory states that the people of the Roanoke colony left the island and merged with the Croatoan tribes. There is some evidence for this. Writer William Strachey wrote about seeing 2-story houses built of stones in the Croatoan areas. They were not the kind of houses built by ordinary tribes, and it's possible that the colonists may have relocated to Croatoan Island. In the late 1880s, a family of Native Americans claimed their ancestors were members of the Roanoke colony. Their surnames coincided with the surnames of those who lived on Roanoke Island at that time, and their spoken language also had words used by the people of that time. Gradually, more and more people began to claim that they had Roanoke blood in them. In 2007, a private company started a project called the Lost Colony of Roanoke DNA Project. It works through historical records and DNA testing, but so far, no shocking revelation has been uncovered. The similarity was obtained only from the DNA of very few people. So what happened to most people? According to this theory, the few who merged with these tribes may have survived some of the attacks. So the answer is this tribal amalgamation. Or is there something else we don't understand yet? What do you think?